Well, good evening to you and welcome to this live program of Walter Rodney Groundings. I'm your host, Deon Abrams, and I have two guests from the University of Guyana, Dr. Patsy Francis and Mellisa Ifill, and they will be, of course, continuing the discourse on the happenings at the University of Guyana. Welcome, ladies, to the program.
Thank you.
Last week, there was some discussion on what was happening at the university, and the lines were open for some discourse, calls, and so on. We will do the same, but before we do that, we want to talk about a few things that would have been happening in relation to the administration, the government, and the university. Now, the president, I want to start off by the statement made by the president recently that politics is what is hampering the progress of the University of Guyana. From whose perspective is the president speaking, and how do you view this, I don't know what to call it, this assertion that is made by the president? I don't know if you want to.
Well, Dion, I was quite alarmed, but I think it is a useful statement which the government, the president has made. I think that he has acknowledged that indeed it is politics which interferes with the smooth functioning of the university. And we, the unions, we have been saying this for quite some time, that we would like to have the council depoliticized. As in the past, Walter Rodney was not given a job during the PNC time, and then during the PPP time, which is now, several lecturers have been similarly treated. So we don't want in the future to have to be fighting the same battle over and over. So indeed, we are happy that the president recognizes that politics has very little place in academia.
But, Melissa, you think when the president is speaking about politics affecting the operations of the university, do you think he's speaking from the perspective as well of Dr. Francis?
Well, I can only assume so. Because certainly, as Dr. Francis would have indicated, we have been, at the level of the unions, been arguing consistently that the inordinate powers that the Minister of Education possesses with respect to determining who the council members are, that these powers definitely need to be reduced and redressed, because it allows for political interference into the functioning of the university. And I can only assume that that is what the president is acknowledging, the fact that, this needs to be remedied, as we have argued, and as we have also, approached the parliament with a petition to address the politicized nature of the council, which then affects the functioning of the university. I believe that if the president were to speak with anyone at the university, whether the person is a supporter of any of the political parties, I think that he would find that our sentiments, the sentiments that we have been addressing or that we have been expressing, that those sentiments are common across the board. I don't think that there is any lecturer on campus who believes that the university functions well and who believes that, the political interference is good for the university. So I can only assume that the president would have spoken to some of his supporters on the campus, and that they would have also indicated just what we have indicated, and that he is now at the position where he is acknowledging that fact.
No, but what if his take on the situation, we understand the nature of the administration that we're dealing with. If we get a sense, my sense is that he's seeming to suggest that people like you are somehow politically influenced in terms of your agitation for changes at the university, and instead of looking in the right direction where the problems are located, I'm sensing that he's suggesting that troublemakers like yourselves are political agents.
Well, if agitating for better university, if agitating for transforming the university, if agitating for a quality education that we deliver to students that can be matched, that cannot be matched anywhere in the Caribbean, if agitating for that makes us opposition, then we are comfortable with that particular label. Because, and as I said, I don't think that if we go to the university, we will find there are many people who disagree with what we are saying. The entire university accepts and acknowledges that the university is in a state of crisis. Financially, infrastructurally, in terms of the delivery of the quality of education, we all accept that. And so if our agitation places us, as it were, in the crosshairs, then we are willing to make that kind of sacrifice, because this cause for a better university, which of course will have great implications for the governance and the operations and the functioning of so many different professions in Guyana, if our agitation puts us in the crosshairs, and we're comfortable with that. We can live with that.
Yes, but Deon, it is interesting that politics is so important, and I never really realized the importance of politics in the lives of ordinary people like myself. But now I recognize that politics and politicians, they make policies, and they do things which affect your lives, the lives of the ordinary people, in very profound ways. And so the president is right to recognize that what his administration does affects the university profoundly, and will affect generations to come significantly. So actually we are calling on him to enact the kind of policies and to do the sort of things which would help the people of the country to get the kind of education which, as he said in his speech at UG, that we need to put things aside, we need to put our differences aside and work for the development of the country. And this is what the union, in fact, has been asking for. You know what is interesting at UG? I think the majority of lecturers and staff believe that we are above the political fray, and never really saw ourselves as political agents. It doesn't mean that a person doesn't have a particular political leaning, but I'm not too sure what it means. We're academics, and this is first and foremost in everything that we do.
But I just want to comment on that too. If that were the suggestion coming from the president, I think it would also be unfortunate, because it would suggest that individuals can't speak on an issue about which they feel passionately without attracting some kind of label, which is unfortunate if that were to be the insinuation that the president is making. Because certainly I can speak for myself. I am not aligned to any political party. I am not an agent of any political party. All I'm interested in, I'm a lecturer, I'm affected by what is happening at the University of Guyana, and I believe that we all can work together to foster change and development. So I would think that it would be very unfortunate if that is what the president is suggesting, because it then suggests that there is an intolerance for any kind of independent dissent.
But coming from a university.
Coming from, any member of the public.
That's what universities are about.
Yeah.
That is what we do. We think critically, and we apply thoughts clearly. We think about things quite a lot, and we examine issues, and we formulate new plans and new programs. We are not really interested in what political party a person. As a matter of fact, I sent out an email recently to a colleague telling him exactly that I'm not interested in political posturings. You know.
Well, you know, we have to understand we deal with the administration as politicians, and we know that we've always said, and we continue to say, that they continue to bury their heads in the sands like ostriches and seem to believe that the problems that are around them are non-existent, and they don't see how they relate to these problems. They try to blame the situation on every other person. But we're going to open the lines for some calls pretty soon, so I'm going to ask the operator to put up the number of the... Okay, so that we can, when we do open the lines, you can call to make your contributions. The other thing is that people are concerned about the... Professor Pradey has said that there should be a significant increase in fees if lecturers are to be paid properly, if the university is to see the kind of development that it needs. I don't know, what is your take, considering all the factors, economic factors in Guyana, the fact that the university needs development, how do you see the proposed increases that the Vice Chancellor would
Well,
have?
Deon, as a university person and as a Guyanese who was trained from nursery through university for free, you have to say, I believe that because our economy is not very buoyant and there are a lot of poor people in this country who are bright and deserve a chance. At the same time, there are some people who could actually afford to pay. And therefore, we believe that there has to be some stratified mechanism for fee paying. Many years ago, we had said, this is the whole university community, many years ago had said that the fee should be tied to the US dollar of which was at the time is 127. Now, at this time, it's 200 to 1, and that is a part of our problem, that the amount of monies that are in the budget for UG, all of the monies, whether it comes from the loan agency or whether it's fee-paying students, the pie is too small. So it seems as though lecturers' salaries and wages for workers take up an inordinate proportion of that. But it's a small number of another small number. You see, if you have a small pie and I take out this, then it seems large. But if the pie becomes larger, then that amount becomes small. You see, it's a matter of proportion. So we are saying that the pie needs to become larger. Where we differ, at least where I differ from Professor Padai altogether, is that I do not believe that the fee should go up to 345,000. I don't think that Guyanese could afford to pay that. I believe that Guyanese students should be given due notice, at least 1 year's notice, because people will have to find this money from somewhere. The government themselves need notice to be able to put all of these numbers into the budget. You see, because they will have to put more money into the loan agency. I believe some mechanisms for determining whether or not people can pay. And of course, there must be an increase in standards. The university must have better facilities for delivery of lectures and for the comfort of the students. So, in a nutshell, I am not seeing that we may even be able to move to the 200 mark, the 200,000 mark, maybe some gradual mechanism. And what I would like to see is the university's administration coming up with a financial plan which makes each unit within the university more productive, each lecturer more productive, not trimming the lecturers and thereby trimming the quality, because we cannot sacrifice quality while trying to cut the cost.
Yeah.
You see, so that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think fundamentally we have to figure out what kind of university we want. If we want a national university, if we want a university that addresses specifically the needs of Guyana, if we want a university that is geared towards transforming our society and developing our society, then I think necessarily we, the members of the public, the taxpayers, etc., we should put, significant sums into such a university, because clearly it will be down to the benefit of Guyana. But we also have a context within Guyana whereby estimates of approximately 85% of our tertiary graduates migrate.
Okay.
And so the question is, do we as a society, can we afford to train all of these individuals and then these individuals leave? So what kinds of mechanisms can we put in place to ensure that if we train you at the cost of, to the taxpayers, how then would you repay that debt, as it were, to the society? Or let us address and let us find out what is the realistic cost of delivering a quality education, a quality program to the students. And if you so desire, you can pay the economic cost, and then you're entirely free to move in whichever direction you would want to go. I think we have to be a little more creative in the context of Guyana. I look around in the Caribbean. I went to the University of the West Indies, and I see, for instance, when I was at UWI St. Augustine, for the most part, it was the state that covered the cost of education for the students, even for those who could afford it. Now, Trinidad, you might argue, is a richer country, and as a consequence, they could afford to do so. But I do believe that, as a society, since we have currently what is referred to as a national university, that we definitely need to think about how we can, as a society, help to fund this university. We also need to think about ensuring that other partners, other groups within the community, within our society that benefit from the university also contribute. So we have the private sector, which is a key beneficiary of the university's output. How does the private sector come on board, and ensure that there is funding and financing of the university? So I think we have to be creative. I think we have to look at multiple strategies. I think we can also look at a strategy where, for instance, the students could continue to pay 127, and then we establish a realistic cost. Let's say if that cost is 340, as the Vice Chancellor might be suggesting, and then the government or the state provides that, subsidizes the students' education. So I think there are a number of mechanisms that we can put in place, but I think what we want to really underscore is that when you pay $127,000 a year, the quality of education that you will get for that is not what we want to see. You will not get the quality that you could get, and you will not get the quality that we as lecturers would like the students to get, so that they could go out there well equipped and functional and able to go into the work environment and perform with some amount of distinction.
But how significant, Dr. Francis spoke about trimming of not only staff and all of that, but in terms of resources and so on. How much affected is the university in terms of the trimming of staff? Because I know a student who would have registered for a postgraduate program, and so far she has only been able to do one course. She doesn't have lecturers for any other. She's doing Spanish, and she doesn't have lecturers. And she said, well, the dean, when he is approached, is pretty arrogant and so on. I said, probably it's out of frustration, knowing that he has no control, he can't really give answers. So when students keep bombarding him with questions that he really can't answer, that's his response, but she's thinking of pulling out because the semester has already started. you're doing Spanish, there are other courses that are part of the entire program, and you're paying for this, even if it's 127.
Yes.
How significant is this cut?
Well, I was discussing this problem today with another colleague, and this problem is widespread across the campus. Many programs at this moment do not have their component of all of the people who are supposed to be to deliver the programs, and this is because there is a hiccup with the way in which the council and the appointments committee manage the process of hiring lecturers. As a matter of fact, only last week, the university was still interviewing people. I mean, this is the 6th week into the 7th week, almost the middle of the semester, and you're still interviewing people. I don't know if it's for next year or what it is for. This has really never happened before, and I'm wondering what exactly is going on. The other thing is that there is a move to reduce cost by giving people who are over 60 a one semester contract, and now they're in the process of re-advertising. I think that the university's administration, now I'm not going to blame the council for this one, the university's administration need to sit down and carefully consider what they're doing. I have already said in the media that they're reducing us to a college or to high school, because the implications, you may cut costs over here, but the implications of what they're doing they are so grave, and I call that politicking. I call that politics. I'm saying, as an academic, when I speak to a politician, I speak academic truth. The politician may wish to take a different position, but I will not take a position which will compromise quality because I want them to think that I am trying to cut the budget. What I would do is try to make each unit, each person within the system more productive. And let me tell you, it can be done very easily. But I think right now the administration is not a people-centered administration. It is operating as though the people in the system really, the lecturers and the staff really don't matter very much. I was watching a program today in British history, and in the days when all of the pollution from all of the use of coal and all of that was going on, the industrialists also felt that the people were not important. And I wonder if it's just us going over history over and over, like we don't have a sense, we don't learn,
Okay. Anything on that?
Oh, I think Patsy dealt with it adequately.
Okay, one of my concerns when I was doing my postgrad, and our lecturer and I had a little quarrel. I didn't respond to her because I wrote in the newspaper saying that, well, look, the university doesn't have a strategy or any system in place for giving some kind of relief to students who want to pay. You have to pay the entire 70-something thousand or whatever it comes up to, including lab fees and everything, at one go. There is no staggered system for payment per semester.
Actually, yes, I must correct that, because we do have a system where you can pay either by semester or you can approach the office of the registrar and you can sign a contract with the office to pay on a staggered basis. I think over 3 or 4 payments for the year. And so while we may possibly we might not have advertised it adequately, it does exist.
How long would that?
It does exist.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to open the lines for some calls. The number is on the screen. If you have a contribution, please don't call to lecture. Just ask questions, make your point briefly, and let the panelists respond. All right. So the lines are open, and if you have a contribution, do make it. Now have you been getting anywhere at all with all of these protests, all of the different strategies approaching Parliament and all of these things? Do you see any move in terms of a direction suggesting that something better is coming?
I'm always hopeful. I am always hopeful. I believe that UG is a national resource, and I believe that we are all concerned about UG, all sides of the political divide. I believe that we are all concerned about UG. And if there's one institution in Guyana that I believe we can all come together on, it's the University of Guyana. We all stand to benefit. We have all benefited from the UG. Our children, benefit from the University of Guyana. So I am hopeful that ultimately, we can come to some kind of national consensus. One of the things that we wanted to do is that we believe that we absolutely needed to spotlight what was happening at UG. Not many people were aware of the problems, the successes, the challenges of the university, and we felt that we needed to do so.
Okay, somebody's on the line. Let me hear what this person has to say. Hello, you're on to Walter Rodney Groundings.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
Now, my daughter is attending UG. Okay? And to my surprise, I asked her, I said, when will we having the thing the year? And she said, that I don't know. A friend tell me.
When they will be having what?
Graduation.
Oh, graduation. Okay.
She said, imagine a friend tell me that it can be in November. I said, you can UG, you know again. I said, UG, not UG. UG is something else. Now, what I want to say, it is a well-orchestrated plan where UG now is going. A well-orchestrated plan. Who could pay and learn and get the degrees? Who can pay to help with them? What I mean is that there are plenty poor people who are more educated, who have more knowledge, have more brain than those who have money. But the thing is that who can pay, stay down. Who could pay? It's a well-orchestrated plan, your brother.
Okay.
Trust me in what I'm saying. Right? My daughter, she come back and then she had to do, well, I asked me, UG nowadays, she said, Daddy, wherever they give me, wherever they give me. I hear. They were telling me, I hear they're going to get graduation in November. Can you imagine that?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, UG is in a verge of collapse. Please, CBR, don't bring it back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, do you agree with the gentleman?
Well, I mean, it's unfortunate that students have to go through those kinds of experiences. I mean, I had a wonderful experience at the University of Guyana when I was there. And you might be surprised to know that in terms of infrastructurally, UG was not as, I suppose, developed as it is right now. But what I had was a core of lecturers who were committed to us and who were willing to, provide all that they could have within the circumstances. And I think it's unfortunate that, our students are now going through this. Clearly, the communications channels and the structures and the systems that are in place need to be improved so that students can get information in a timely manner. In addition to that, of course, in addition to information, they also need to ensure that, whatever facilities, lecturers, whether labs, materials, etc., whatever is needed, they also, receive. So
we have another call on the line. Good afternoon.
Fucking jackass!
Yes.
okay.
That's the kind of thing we don't want. I don't know what point will come out of that.
That's not a UG student.
Another caller. Hello. Yes. We're gonna have to try to get that chap's number.
The
Yeah.
thing is, one of the things that I find it is very troubling which I hope with this new UGSS, the University of Guyana Student Society, that they would help fix, is help to alleviate, is this feeling of hopelessness. There's a feeling of hopelessness among students. So they feel like they have to take whatever they're given, and that they have no voice. And this is not the case.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, you're on to Walter Rodney Groundings.
That's a 672 number. That's the same one I told Miss Combanco.
The same number. Let me see.
672 something.
672. Okay, we got a number. And we're going to deal with that gentleman. Yes.
That's him again.
672-854.
95.
Okay.
9544.
9544.
Yes, this feeling of apathy, this feeling of hopelessness. We can't have students coming to the university. This person like to have this thing recorded.
Yes.
Yes, we can have students coming to the university, and as I was saying to some students, are you learning to be hopeless?
Mm-hmm.
Is it that which you're being taught? Please, because you're going out there to be managers and to be leaders. So I trust that you will find some spirit, So today we want to know from students and parents what they think about the fee-paying business. If they're willing to pay, how much they're willing to pay, if they're willing to pay at all.
Maybe I can go back a bit on my historical knowledge, and I think you can take the call.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Somebody sensible is on the line.
Hi, good evening. Actually, I'm a UG student.
Okay, you're a UG student.
I have a question for the lady in the white. When last have you been to the University of Guyana?
Well, she's a lecturer at the university.
Yes, she's speaking about the university in a kind of manner that I have not seen since I've been there.
What manner is that?
She's talking about the structures and stuff. Facility, as a matter of fact. Earlier she mentioned.
Speak up a bit. The structures, what particularly you don't quite agree with in terms of the structure?
Well,
that
how she spoke of it, as a matter of fact, it seems nice on the eye for the person who's listening from the way she spoke of it.
Okay.
Actually, being on the university, that's not the kind of impression that we the students see and feel every day.
Okay.
And it's Dr. Francis, that's her name?
Yeah.
I think she had been to our symposium, so this is the Rev. I think she had been to our symposium. I think we had a topic on UG, next 50 years that are alive.
Yes.
And it was very interesting.
Yes.
But being up there first year, coming from New York City, that is still a question in my head. Every day, being on campus, the way I see it, next 50 years, we wouldn't be having a university.
If it continues in the direction that it's going right now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for your contribution.
Thank you.
No, I don't disagree with the call at all, and I think maybe she misinterpreted me. What I was trying to suggest was that, and in fact what I know, is that the facilities that we have now, they're entirely inadequate, but they're more than were there when I was a student
Okay.
in the 90s. But they're entirely inadequate, and I don't disagree with her on any level with respect to the deficiencies that exist.
Okay. Let's take this other call. Hello, you're on to Walter Rodney
Hi,
Groundings.
my brother. How are you?
Yes, it's good to
And
hear
those lovely ladies there tonight.
Okay.
These ladies dress like they remember me. They remind me when in the days of when women used to dress. They're looking pretty for this night.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyhow, that's not the topic.
It really
Now,
isn't.
I got a little issue. I need a little answers from you people. How many students per year do we pass through the university as graduates?
About 1,000.
About how much?
1,000.
1,000.
Yes.
Therefore, for the past 15 years, we got about 10,000. And let me put it at that. Let me break down back now, right? For the past 15 years, we should got about 10,000 students in this country who have got a job. Isn't it so?
Well, not necessarily.
Not
Don't have a
necessarily.
job.
They are overseas.
Because if we got 1,000 graduating per year, and we got 15 years or 21 years ago, let me put it for 15 years, I could almost certain that we have in 10,000. Now I did 21 years. Don't worry, the 1,000 a year. Let me put 10,000 unemployed UG students right now. You think so? You don't think so?
Well, it is
Go ahead.
Maybe half of them out.
part of the issue, of course, is
Good.
that
Now, because of this lack of opportunity and job opportunity and another thing on finance or what have you, you see what happened the other night? A UG graduate take a contract now to kill. Is that what we use? There's a part of the curriculum at university, and because there's the last resort.
I mean, I want to speak to two things. One
terrible.
is
All right.
No, I'm finished.
you're not finished. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Now, concern is university business. I believe we need a more stern, I don't know, we got so much of bodies and so much of committees and so much of this set up for manage this and that. But to me, we got some sort of mismanagement somewhere at the university level. And anything you mismanage, you're going to lose. Anything you misuse, you're going to lose. Anything you abuse, eventually you're going to lose. And we have so many people that came out of that university and went to all parts of this world and
Sure.
become whatsoever they are, you
Still
know,
going,
in
they're
charge,
still going.
take charge, all parts of the world. And I don't understand why our Guyanese, I don't want to push my finger to the president or the opposition, but I believe they are the two main persons to see this university stay alive.
Yes.
Because we are lacking, we graduating so much students, they go in all parts of the world, educating other people, and we people here coming illiterate because we don't have proper teachers in the secondary school and the primary school.
Okay, all
For
right.
example, where that brother came from Africa, right? The chancellor,
Vice Chancellor.
the vice chancellor.
Yes.
So we are not no qualified people, all these people who Guyana have.
Plenty.
No, yeah,
We
no,
have
we do.
plenty.
All right.
Because we got to pay that guy a fat salary.
Sure.
Let me face reality, let me be realistic.
we do have-
My brother don't know if we cut off, let you hear what we talking.
No, well,
I
you
know
see,
that
we
the
want
man
as
is the
many people
paper.
to get through as possible.
You know?
All right, we want as many people
We
to
can't
get
pay
through.
one man a fat salary like what happened in GPL. It happened in this part, this. It happened in all the organizations.
It's the nature of the
One man don't get
administration.
nothing. Certainly, people got to resort to taking contract to go murder somebody. I don't understand what's going on. Are we running a blood-bath government? Wait, this government is the God who does work with blood?
Okay.
Blood sacrifice? What's going on?
All right, give somebody else a
Okay, my
chance.
brother.
Thanks for your contribution, all right?
Yeah, my brother.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
Yes. the
Yeah, I
bro-
just want to say something about mismanagement. The union recognizes mismanagement throughout the fabric of the university and the country as a whole. And you wouldn't like to hear what the union has said to many persons in the past. You'd be quite shocked. And we say now that we are still being mismanaged because we expect, and I think the country expects, that when you have a high level set of managers, such as we are, the delivery would be great and apt.
Okay.
But at this point, it still is not happening. And to answer the brother's question on whether or not we have Guyanese who could fill these positions, of course.
Caller, please hold the line, all right?
Of course, of
Okay.
course. I off of my arm is not long enough to call their names.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything you want to say?
Yeah, I wanted to just speak very, very briefly to the question of, you know, the output in terms of where do our graduates go. Unfortunately, as statistics would have indicated to us, about 85% of them leave.
Okay.
And we're left with the remainder, I'm absolutely sure, good quality amongst that group as good quality who would have left.
Okay.
You know, but it's unfortunate that, you
So
know,
many are-
students find themselves in a position, or former students find themselves in a position where they see no other option,
That's
as would have
indeed.
possibly happened with this young lady, you know, but to commit, such a heinous kind of crime. I mean, I can't imagine
what
that she
possessed her?
would have. I can't imagine that she didn't have
And
any
look at the
options.
price.
and-
Look at the price.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, scholar.
It's
Your
a 1-year
contribution, please.
tuition.
Thank you.
1 year true.
Good afternoon to you and your panel.
Good afternoon.
I think that the university, if the university vice chancellor should stick to the work of policies, right? Implementing policies and managing the university in the macro managing rather than micromanaging, and allow the lecturers and the other people in the university who have to do the lower jobs to do the work. I think that the university will be better off. As for fees, I think that we should deliver a better quality rather than looking to get money before we think. To me the lecturer, the vice chancellor want more money from the students. No, right? But then instead of wanting more money from the students, no, give them better education. No, and then you'll get more money from them.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. So you're saying that you need to upgrade the standard.
Yes, let me say something else about the government. The government has changed the way in which it does business. It is the largest employer, but it has changed the way it does business, and it has probably been.
Caller, please stay on the line, okay?
It is probably.
You make a contribution.
It has probably been asked to do this by multinationals. Now, if you are moving into the direction where people are expected to generate employment, coming out of UG, they're saying that you should generate employment, then the government has to establish a platform that will facilitate that.
Okay.
You can't just say to a UG student, go out there and get your business going. It can't work. These are
Yeah.
poor people. How is it going to happen?
All right.
Yes.
Yes, caller. Go ahead.
Look, I like talk. It's me again. Now, just bear with me. In Cuba right now, they got doctors at the age of 22, with highly scientific doctors. You hear what I'm telling you? And when those people come out to university, they get a salary that they could start to do something, and also they get their allowance, they get a house, they get a car, they get the whatsoever they have to get because they are respected in that country. And imagine, even though that Cuba does not have the resources that we have, this beautiful Guyana, all these resources what we have, Cuba could afford to send batches of doctors around this whole world for help, for do eye, for do kidney, for do heart, for do everything free of cost. Them a pay them. You tell me all this money, and I overheard last night that somebody saying that they got so much money in the bank that them ain't got no project for spending. Pay the people, no give the people a better salary, you know. All them say, watch, let me tell you, the biggest man born a baby, and once you born, you got to die. Let it keep it there. I'm going to tend the funeral with it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, but that's one of the things that we don't have a system in place for gifted students. It's something that we don't look at all in this country.
Yes.
I don't know. So his point is a valid one.
Yes.
Definitely.
Because
And we also support his point that clearly, I mean, you have to pay people a livable wage. You have to pay people a wage that they could take care of themselves and their families. We've had situations, for instance, where lecturers have found themselves in the position of giving quote unquote extra lessons.
and
But the fact
being
is,
knocked off.
yeah,
Hold the line, please.
what you're paying the lecturers at the University of Guyana, it's entirely inadequate for them to sustain themselves and their families. And so we have lecturers who unfortunately have to split their times doing 2-3 jobs. And I'm talking about full-time jobs. We might not want to acknowledge it publicly, or we might say they shouldn't do it, but they have to feed their families.
Yeah,
and
but
the
it-
university is not paying them sufficiently for them to do so.
Why I would this business of knocking people off for trying to live. I
It-
don't. I was shocked when I heard it. When I
Yes.
heard it, the whole thing
Yeah.
happening.
Actually, the guy wasn't even charged with that. The guy wasn't charged for giving extra lessons. He was charged with something else. And they're so ready, so foaming at the mouth, ready to get rid of someone, that they found something to knock him off.
Okay.
Yes.
Caller, go ahead.
Good evening to you and your panel there.
Yes,
Good
ma'am.
evening.
Question.
do the University of Guyana have a academic advisory board?
Well,
Different
the each
faculties.
different departments and faculties have advisory boards. Over the years, we have had advisory boards for various disciplines. Unfortunately, the advice of the persons from private sector and so on could never be implemented because there's never any money. And by the way, I believe that the government should put a levy, a tax on the private sector somehow or the other to make them be more responsive to the needs of the university. Because there's no point just coming to the university and say, oh, you have to start more programs in this, you have to do that, and where is the money? How is it going to get done?
There's a reason why I asked that question because it seems as though like the administration of the University of Ghana, like they lack a vision, like they don't know what they are about. So therefore, if they don't know what they're about, they'll be giving the lecturers a lot of problems and headaches because the lecturers can't think straight because if somebody can tell you, you got to do this my way, and
Or the highway.
gets up there, he comes from another country. He
True.
come here, he even get climatized with what is going on at the University of Guyana.
True.
He's just putting his own thing. He's doing his own thing.
True.
You can't do it.
True.
See what happened is this. When the university was opened and it was formed, the late President Barnum, he said university tertiary, nursery to tertiary, free education. You know why he said that? Because even though he's not alive now, but his vision, this problem what y'all are facing would have happened. They have some people, some youth, some students, they cannot afford to pay the fee that he wants them to pay now. He said, well, I'm going to throw it out to the board. Let us sit down with the lecturers and discuss this thing and see with the students' body and the unions, and let us sit down and discuss this thing so that we could come to consensus, not now, but next year or
Yes.
the following year, and see who can afford to pay it.
Yes.
Because most university students, the parents is struggling. Most of them parents are single parents.
Yes.
And what is happening, why the students when they come out to universities migrating, if the government would find a job for them that would pay them a proper salary so they could repay the loan
Yes.
and stay here,
Yes.
we would have no brain drain.
Yes.
No brain drain we have because we'll be having all the students that go through different faculties. We have uses for them. But if the pasture is greener on the other side, we're going to go there because we're not getting what we want here. And I say is one thing, who feels it knows
Knows it.
Okay, that's,
Charity begins at home.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a good point, Wendon. The lights are on us, so we really can't take any more calls, but any final word you want to?
Yes, I would like to say with respect to this fee paying business, that the last caller is correct, that and Mellisa, my colleague here, is also right on point by saying that a lot of work needs to be done before we impose fees on the Guyanese public, higher fees, careful study, and this can take a whole year, 2 years, and that it must be done now. And Professor Opedai must deliver a financial plan to the university and to the council, because we can't throw away even the brains that we have left. Poor people, they may think that this is politics, but I was a poor person. My parents were poor, and today I only got education because it was free.
Okay, your final contribution.
Yes, thanks for having us on the program. This year, actually, the University of Guyana celebrates its 50th year. And it's a momentous occasion. We're 50. We've been surviving for 50 years. We've had numerous challenges. We continue to have challenges. But I believe that we have a cadre of students and staff at the university who will ultimately ensure that we develop and that we thrive. I am hopeful, as much as I recognize and I'm very cognizant of the numerous problems that we have. I am hopeful that, together, all the stakeholders, all the interested party, the private sector, the university members, the administration, the government, the opposition, I'm hopeful that we can come up with some kind of plan to move the university forward. As I said, it's a national resource, and I think that we ought to treat UG, with the reverence and the respect that it deserves, considering the contribution that the institution would have made to this country over the years.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Francis, and your colleague, Mellisa, for being on the program. I think it was really enlightening, the discourse, and the callers also. The phones are still ringing, but certainly we can't take any calls. But do look out for us next week, same time, same channel, for another program of Walter Rodney Groundings.